It's three things in life that's certain. Death, taxes, and 85 gonna always be open.
Go my way, 'cause I'm gonna be open. I got you.
First drive for the Bengals, 2nd and 9. Get at me, Carson. 66-yard gain to Chris Henry, but Carson Palmer is down on the Bengals' longest play in their postseason history. Their Burrow QB is down. Check it out. Hit by former Bengal player Kimo Von Oppen. Palmer would be coming off ACL.
In the second half of the Washington-Cincinnati game, his left leg buckles as he gets hit, and it looks or it sounds like Burrow expects that his season is over. One more look at it. Oh, man, that's tough. Look away if you don't want to see those. In an offense that has not been able to run the football, Joe Mixon's been out with injuries as well. They have asked the young rookie to do so much. He's really stood up to the challenge for the most part, even though the Bengals do not have a winning record. Burrow tweeted out after the game.
Hey, my name is Vince, and if you're a Bengals fan watching this right now, I'm so sorry you had to see those first two clips, but I need you guys to understand the topic of today's video. We're going to be comparing Carson Palmer and Joe Burrow today, and see how each guy came back from their ACL tears. Both Bengals quarterbacks had virtually the exact same injury, and I know it's a little early to compare both of them, as Joe Burrow is only playing his second season, and it hasn't even fully come back from his ACL tear yet. But as we head towards the 2021 season, you can tell the difference in mentality between Joe Burrow and Carson Palmer. Well, what do I mean by this specifically? Well, I'll show you. First, I'll show you an interview with Carson Palmer and his feelings on the organization after his ACL tear and a few years beyond that.
Like, you guys didn't get there because the organization didn't support you enough, or because of the injury that you suffered in 05?
Well, that injury, you know, when you think back to that injury in the playoffs in 05 against the Steelers, you know, we had won the division. We had beat Pittsburgh pretty handedly when we played them that year, and we had their number. I definitely felt like that. And then they would go on.
You hit Chris Henry in an 86-yard touchdown on that throw that Kimo Von Oppen comes into your knee on.
Well, they went on and won the Super Bowl. So there's always the what if, but I'm a firm believer, and things happen for a reason, and that was not our year, and that was Pittsburgh's year.
So, do you feel like the organization gave you enough support to win?
No, I mean, that's why I wanted out. Is I never felt like the organization was really trying to win a Super Bowl and really chasing a Super Bowl, because that's what today's day and age is. The game today is you can't just hope you draft well and not go after free agents and you end up in the Super Bowl. You got to go get it.
Now, I could not find any clips whatsoever, or interviews, or anything about Carson Palmer right after he tore his ACL and how the rehab process went. Plus, I don't have Game Pass, so I couldn't watch the full football life on him. I did find a 7-minute clip on him though that went through the divorce with the Bengals, and will play a factor later in this video. What I get from this interview though is that Carson Palmer is a little hesitant to talk about the injury and the rehab process maybe. He only focuses on what was next. And next after that was 3 mediocre seasons where the Bengals missed the playoffs. Another thing I'd like to add on to that is that Carson Palmer doesn't seem to talk about his own interceptions. What I'm saying is Carson Palmer seemed to blame the front office more on not getting me enough talent to help him elevate his own game. And now let me say right now, he is very right in some aspects of that. But in that time period of 3 seasons where they missed the playoffs, you still had Shadow Chosinko Johnson, Chris Henry, and a very standard defense. Of course, they were nothing like the 06-05 team, but he still had enough talent where he could have made the playoffs at least one of those seasons. He made a lot of bad throws and made several interceptions and just seemed off since that 05 season. Even points when Chad Johnson was arguing with him on the field for making bad throws or the wrong reads. However, in some aspects, like I said earlier, Carson is right in some of this. I remember at some points, and even through the mid-2010s, the front office would just hope draft talent came to him, and they didn't have to spend as much in free agency. Now, what we should mention here is that in 2009, Carson Palmer seemed to have a bounce-back year. It started out a bit rough for the Bengals, but they were on the cusp of winning a division title. Carson was playing great and seemed like he was back in form. However, tragedy struck that season. Chris Henry died that season. He was one of Chris Palmer's best friends, and Jordan Palmer, Carson Palmer's brother, talked about it in a 7-minute video I mentioned earlier in this video, a segment from his Football Life episode, where he said it hit him several days after the fact. The Bengals then unfortunately went on to lose 3 of their last 4 in the season, and lose in the wildcard round to the Jets. I'd imagine the death of Chris Henry destroyed the mindset and mentality of Carson Palmer for the rest of that season, and I believe it carried over to the next, because he then had arguably his worst worst season yet, where he threw 20 interceptions with 26 touchdowns ahead of it. Keep in mind, his weapons were Terrell Owens and Chad Johnson. I think we all knew what happened after that, so let's wrap this up real quick. I believe this ACL tear really played a factor in Carson's career and his mentality going forward. It seems like he couldn't help himself mentally recover from this ACL tear, so he wanted the Bengals front office to do more and surround him with more talent to help him on the field recover more. To simplify that, I feel like Carson Palmer couldn't elevate the team anymore mentally. He wanted more talent to help elevate him so that way he felt he could elevate the others. But obviously the team seemed to not do enough to surround him with that talent, and that's why it fell apart. Now let me just say, I don't hate Carson Palmer whatsoever. He's one of the toughest players I've seen, and to battle through the injuries he's had, I have all the respect for him. But what I'm saying is that it factor that we all saw in him early on seemed to just fade away as time went on. Which at the end of the day, no matter which way you look at it, it's just really unfortunate how it all went down. It seemed Carson was ready to just move on and be done with the whole thing. However, we cannot live in the past, as it's a new era, and that brings us to Joe Burrow. Now Joe Burrow's ACL tear happened during his rookie season on a 2-6-1 team. His injury seemed to just bring a dark cloud not just over Cincinnati, but over the rest of the league too. However, unlike Carson Palmer, I can find plenty of interviews and videos on Joe Burrow talking about his recovery process so far. So let's take a look at one of those interviews conducted by Colin Cowherd just months removed from that ACL tear.
Rehab, let's talk about that. It's scary. Rehab stinks. Joy was a great athlete. It's no fun. Was there a moment when you went under the knife, you were anxious, you were worried? How has it gone for you?
Yeah, as soon as the injury happened, I was obviously devastated. I wanted to finish out the year and, finish strong. I thought there were a lot of winnable games in this part of the schedule that we had. And then the injury happened, and that was devastating for me. But, rehab has gone really well. I'm past the worst part. I'm starting to feel like a normal human again. I can walk around, put my clothes on, do what I need to do. The first week and a half, 2 weeks was pretty miserable.
Yeah.
Needed help doing everything, but I'm getting more independent, and it's going to be nice to get some alone time, not having to rely on everybody for a little bit. But things are on track to start the season the way I need to. Practice a little bit in fall camp and get ready to go.
Wow. Now, some suggested you wouldn't be ready for the opener. What's your gut feeling?
I think I'll be ready.
All right.
I think it'll be just fine.
Okay. All right. I know what I'm rooting for, but I hear all those things.
Okay, right off the bat, I just want you to watch towards the end of the interview this one clip one more time.
Now, some suggested you wouldn't be ready for the opener. What's your gut feeling?
I think I'll be ready.
As soon as Colin mentioned the possibility of him not being ready for the opener, he was smiling. He was thinking in the back of the head that he knew he was going to be ready. And that right there is the it factor of Joe Burrow clicking in. Now besides that, there's some key factors that go into this that separate Carson Palmer's injury from Joe Burrow's. Number one, Carson Palmer tore his ACL in a contract year. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow tore his in his rookie year. And number two, Carson tore his in a playoff game. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow tore his in week 10. So let me repeat what I just said. Contract year for Carson Palmer, rookie year for Joe Burrow. Week 10 for Joe Burrow, he tore his ACL, and playoff game for Carson Palmer when he tore his. To get the easiest explanation out of the way, Joe Burrow tearing his ACL in week 10 versus a playoff game means he has way more time to recover and get ready for the season opener than Carson Palmer did. As the contract situation goes, Carson Palmer played in a contract year, meaning he was going to get a dump load of money. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow being in his rookie season, meaning he's still on his rookie deal, and that means there's more money for the team to add pieces around him. So in a contract year, that means there's going to be less money for the Bengals, and they couldn't keep all the pieces around Carson Palmer that they wanted to maybe. That's going to be a factor that plays into Joe Burrow's hands, as they're going to be able to go out and get more talent on cheaper deals as Joe Burrow is on his rookie deal. However, let's make this clear. That isn't exactly what brought Carson Palmer's downfall. It was mentality. And when talking about it in his interview about rehab, you can tell he has that poise and that mentality of going forward that allows him to get past all of this. Him mentioning getting past the worst part of rehab and starting to be normal again, and then getting excited about talking about the opener, as you could clearly see when he smiled when asked the question. It really shows Burrow's confident in coming back and is ready to lead this Bengals squad to the promised land whenever he can. And no, I am not saying the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl. I would like them to, though. But going back on Carson Palmer real quick, that's another aspect of it you can talk about. Carson Palmer was in a contract year, and coming off an injury, he's obviously going to be more concerned about getting paid and ensured that he can have the money going forward so he doesn't have to deal with problems like this. That's why the talent around the Bengals squad then fell apart, and Burrow's is building up. Now take a look at this clip of Burrow at OTAs talking about his rehab and where he's at right now.
Joe, it looks like you're gradually ramping up your activity. How's your left knee responded to everything?
It's good, really good. Happy with where it's at. Still got a ways to go. Still got about 3 months left for the rehab, but I'll be ready to go for the season as long as there's no setbacks. And right now, it's looking good.
To add on to this, Joe Burrow also said he feels like he's at 85% right now. This was filmed in June, so that means he's going to have this July, August, and of course September to get ready for the opener. With his extra time and other talent coming in, and possibly more signings to come before training camp starts, I'm sure there's no reason for Joe Burrow to be concerned. What about the offensive line? Shut up. Shut up. I've already gone over this. Anyway, another thing I would like to add on that shows the leadership of Burrow going forward is that at the end of one of the OTA practices, Burrow ripped the brace off and multiple people saw it as he went to go train with some of the wide receivers. Unfortunately, there is no footage of this. I tried really hard to find it, but apparently I found out there was no footage. And being honest, it would have really just made a great promo for the season coming up. But of course, this is huge, and it really shows Burrow's mentality and inner thoughts on how he's dealing with this ACL injury. And I don't know if I'm too young or anything, but does anybody remember Carson Palmer handling the injury in any sort of way like this? I don't remember. And to wrap this all up, I really just think Burrow has a greater mentality than Carson Palmer going forward in this, and the situation and the way it happened is way better for him than Carson Palmer's area. Again, Palmer was in a worse spot, he had less time to recover, he was in a contract year and the Bengals couldn't keep all the pieces, and they were having trouble adding other talent. As a result, Palmer's mentality and playing style took a downturn, and it all fell apart. Burrow tore his in his rookie year, and he's on his rookie deal. As a result, the Bengals have way more in their cap space, plus it's a new regime that seems to be more active in going after free agents, as you can see this offseason. The stars burn bright for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. The only question left is if the offensive line can hold up, and if Joe Burrow can stay healthy going out. I personally think he can, but we will see. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and subscribe. What are your thoughts and what are the differences between Joe Burrow and Carson Palmer in this ACL tear? Also, please comment down below what else you would like to see from this channel and what other videos you want me to do. If you want to see my unfiltered side or get updates on videos coming out, please follow my Twitter in the link below or on the screen here. I also want to say we reached 100 subscribers, that is crazy. And my other video, Bengals versus the AFC North, just got over 1,000 views, and I am forever grateful. Thank you all so much for the support. Never thought trying my hand at YouTube for like the 3rd or 4th time would actually work out like this. So again, thank you so much, and I hope you tune into more videos. If you would like to see those other videos, please check them out. And also, don't forget to like and comment on them. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video once again. Have a great day. Hoo day.